doch noch fortgesetzt?
Nein, ich denke, all das, was wir heute erfahren haben, das war koordiniert, das war abgestimmt mit den Verbündeten. Ja, es ist so, dass wir am Nachmittag die Umläufe noch mal verstärkt haben, um wirklich im wahrsten Sinne des Wortes bis zur letzten Sekunde auszufliegen. Aber insgesamt war man im Plan unabhängig von den Anschlägen.
Das alles, Herr Wüstner, sind keine guten Nachrichten, auch für die Menschen, die noch auf eine Ausreise gehofft hatten. Wir haben gerade in einem Film die Geschichte eines Afghanen gesehen, der es nach Deutschland geschafft hat. Haben Sie Kontakt zu Leuten, die jetzt noch im Land sind, unter den ehemaligen Helfern der Bundeswehr?
Ja, in den letzten Stunden, da riss der Kontakt ab. Aber grundsätzlich ist es so, dass wir seit einigen Tagen unwahrscheinlich viel Kontakt haben. Wir bekommen ja auch unwahrscheinlich viel mit, auch aus der Gesellschaft. Menschen, die Verbindung haben nach Afghanistan. Menschen, die um Hilfe bitten, die fragen, wie kommen sie zum Flughafen, mit welchen Dokumenten. Ich gehe davon aus, so wie es auch Außenminister Maas zuletzt geäußert hatte, dass noch Menschen, noch schutzbefohlene afghanische Ortskräfte vor Ort sind und dass es jetzt darum geht, diplomatische Wege zu bestreiten, wie man gegebenenfalls in den nächsten Tagen, Wochen diese Schutzbefohlenen ausreisen lassen kann.
Viele in der Bundeswehr, auch Sie, haben in den vergangenen Jahren vor diesem Szenario gewarnt, sollten die internationalen Truppen so schnell abziehen, wie sie es getan haben. Die Bundeskanzlerin hat gestern im Bundestag sinngemäß gesagt, hinterher sei man immer schlauer. Was haben Sie da gedacht?
Ja, zum einen mit Blick auf die Regierungserklärung bin ich natürlich schon dankbar, dass auch die Kanzlerin die Leistung der Soldatinnen und Soldaten angesprochen hat, insbesondere derjenigen, die jetzt die Kohlen für die Bundesregierung aus dem Feuer holen, also die Spezialkräfte, die Fallschirmjäger etc. Was die Fragen anbelangt oder auch das Statement, das Sie jetzt gerade wiederholen, das macht nachdenklich, denn es gab eine Vielzahl von Warnungen, von Informationen aus der Wissenschaft, von vielen Fachleuten aus den Streitkräften heraus, die immer wieder gewarnt haben. Und warum man das nicht aufgenommen hat, ist mir ein Rätsel. Auch als sie am Ende Fragen aufgeworfen hat, da fragten sich jetzt dann im Nachgang viele Soldaten, das sind eigentlich Fragen, auf die braucht es doch schon die ganze Zeit Antworten. Warum gab es die nicht? Und wie strategielos war man in diesen letzten Jahren, wenn man sich auf diese Regierungserklärung bezieht?
Haben Sie dafür eine Erklärung?
Ich habe keine aktuell. Ich mache mir selbst Gedanken. Aber natürlich ist es schon so, dass die Bundesregierung nur bedingt strategiefähig ist. Das wurde ja immer wieder von Experten angesprochen in den letzten Jahren. Das ist auch ein wesentliches Lessons learned für die nächste Bundesregierung. Daran muss man arbeiten. Auch der vernetzte Ansatz, also das Zusammenwirken der Ressorts in der Strategiebildung und dann der Zieldefinition, der Operationalisierung von Zielen, da muss man besser werden. Das geht so nicht mehr. Auch mit Blick auf unser Engagement im Irak oder in der Sahelzone. Das können wir uns nicht mehr erlauben.
Das ist eine ziemlich katastrophale Einschätzung von Ihnen, wenn eine Regierung nicht strategiefähig ist.
Naja, also die großen Leitlinien, nehme ich mal die Afrika-Leitlinien, die sind ja relativ einfach beschrieben. Aber das dann herunterzubrechen in eine Strategie mit all dem, was dazugehört, mit den gesamten Ressorts, also dem Bereich Entwicklung, Diplomatie, Militär, alles, was zusammengehört, das ist eben eine Herausforderung. Und die Lehre aus den letzten Jahren ist schon, dass wir da unwahrscheinliche Probleme haben. Und dieses kleine Problem, tragische Problem für die Menschen selbst, Stichwort Ortskräfte, an dem wird deutlich, dass die Ressorts nur begrenzt miteinander sprechen, nicht in der Lage sind, seit April schnell ein Konzept zu erstellen. Und die Probleme sehen wir jetzt. Und diese Probleme im Kleinen sind gleichermaßen die Probleme im Großen mit Blick auf das Gesamtengagement. Und deswegen Stichwort Stärkung des Nationalen Sicherheitsrates. Da gibt es ja schon Vorschläge seit mehreren Jahren, aber auch im Allgemeinen das Zusammenführen von Thinktanks mit Blick auf die Regierung. Da ist einiges zu tun und ich hoffe, das gelingt in der nächsten Regierung.
Herr Wüstner, Sie fliegen gleich mit der Bundesverteidigungsministerin nach Taschkent, nicht nur um die Soldatinnen und Soldaten abzuholen, sondern auch die Afghaninnen und Afghanen, die Ortskräfte und die Helferinnen und Helfer, die heute noch aus Kabul ausgeflogen wurden. Was passiert dann mit denen? Was machen Sie mit denen? Was haben Sie mit denen vor?
Jetzt muss man mal abwarten aufgrund der Szenarien am Abend, wie sich das tatsächlich realisieren lässt. Ich gehe davon aus, dass wir fliegen und ich gehe davon aus, dass es Gelegenheit gibt, zuzuhören, ohne Öffentlichkeit wahrzunehmen. A, was betrifft die Ortskräfte, wie war die Situation und viel mehr natürlich noch für mich interessant, wie steht es um die Belastung der Soldatinnen und Soldaten, was haben sie erlebt, wie geht es weiter, was muss mit Blick auf das psychosoziale Netzwerk gestärkt werden und. Ja, wir haben Profis vor Ort gehabt und nichtsdestotrotz in jeder Uniform steckt ein Mensch. Mir persönlich geht es ums Zuhören, für unsere Mitglieder da zu sein und ich bin froh, dass es die Ministerin, die Wehrbeauftragte und der Generalinspekteur gleichermaßen sehen.
Und was haben Sie für eine Botschaft für die Verteidigungsministerin, wenn Sie neben ihr im Flugzeug sitzen?
Naja, wir werden all das aufarbeiten nochmal. Das ist ja Zeit und Gelegenheit, über all die Herausforderungen, die Probleme der letzten Wochen und Monate zu sprechen. Aber es geht natürlich auch darum, gerade im sozialen Bereich, was für die Afghanistan-Veteranen verbessert werden muss, wo man in der Kommunikation besser werden muss. Es ist in den letzten Jahren vieles erreicht worden und nichtsdestotrotz wird die Chance vorhanden sein, über weitere Verbesserungen zu sprechen. Und insgesamt bleibt die Herausforderung, jetzt viele Dinge zu erklären. Viele Soldatinnen und Soldaten sind wütend, sind frustriert aufgrund der chaotischen Zustände mit Blick auf die Tatsache, dass vielleicht noch Freunde vor Ort in Afghanistan sind, afghanische Ortskräfte, die man kennengelernt hat. Und über Kommunikation zu sprechen, über Einordnung, aber auch um Ehrlichkeit in der Ansprache von Mängeln und Fehlern in den letzten Wochen und Monaten, darum wird es gehen.
Danke Ihnen sehr für das Gespräch und Ihre Zeit, André Wüstner.
Danke ebenso.
Soweit unser Gespräch in den ARD-Tagesthemen. Sie sehen die Tagesschau 24 aktuell zu dieser späten Stunde, weil wir auf ein Statement des US-Präsidenten warten. Joe Biden möchte sich äußern zu diesem Tag, diesem blutigen Tag der Verluste in Afghanistan. Ich fasse Ihnen nochmal zusammen, was wir bisher wissen. Es gab mindestens 2 Selbstmordattentäter, die sich in Kabul rund um den Flughafen in die Luft gesprengt haben. Dabei viele Tote, viele Verletzte. 12 US-Soldaten haben ihr Leben verloren und 60 Afghanen, wie wir von Seiten der Taliban hören. Das sind die Zahlen bis jetzt. Bei den Verletzten soll es sich um 15 US-Soldaten handeln und mehr als 100 Afghanen, die heute diesen Anschlägen insofern zum Opfer gefallen sind, dass dort genau die Massen ausgesucht worden sind. Die Geheim
I just got off the telephone with the leaders in the House. Today, the House of Representatives has taken a significant step toward making a historic investment that's going to transform America, cut taxes for working families, and position the American economy for long-term growth. When I became president, it was clear that we had to confront an immediate economic crisis, the most significant recession we've had since the Depression, or at least since Johnson. But that wasn't gonna be enough. We also had to make some long-term investments in Americans and America itself. The first thing we did was to write and pass the American Rescue Plan, and it's working. Our economy has added 4 million jobs in my first 6 months in office. Economic growth is up to the fastest it's been, the fastest rate in 40 years, and unemployment is coming down. Right now, our economic growth is leading the world's advanced economies. But to win the future, we need to take the next step. Today, the House of Representatives did just that. Today's vote in the House allowed them to consider my Build Back Better agenda, a broad framework to make housing more affordable, bring down the cost of prescription drugs by giving Medicare the power to negotiate lower prices for drugs, make elder care more affordable, provide 2 years of free universal high-quality pre-K and 2 years of free community college, provide clean energy tax credits, continue to give the middle-class families the well-deserved tax cut for daycare and health care that they deserve.
Morgens nochmal nach Afghanistan zu gucken,
and provide significant monthly tax cuts for working families with children through the child care tax credit. These investments are going to lower out-of-pocket expenses for families and not just give them a little more breathing room. In addition, we're going to make long overdue, much needed investments in basic, hard infrastructure of this nation. This is an area where we have broad bipartisan agreement to invest in our antiquated roads, highways, bridges, transit, drinking water systems, broadband, clean energy, environmental cleanup, and making infrastructure more resilient to the climate crisis, and so much more. And this is all paid for. Instead of giving every break in the world to corporations and CEOs, By the way, 55 of our largest companies in America paid $0 in federal taxes on more than $40 billion in profit last year. We can ask corporations and the very wealthy just to pay their fair share. They can still be very wealthy, they can still make a lot of money, but just begin to pay their fair share. So we can invest in making our country stronger and more competitive, create jobs and raise wages, and lift up the standard of living for everyone. The bottom line is, in my view, we're a step closer to truly investing in the American people, positioning our economy for long-term growth, and building an America that outcompetes the rest of the world. My goal is to build an economy from the bottom up and the middle out, not just the top down. And that's what we're on our way of doing. Look, I want to thank Speaker Pelosi, who was masterful in her leadership on this, and Leader Hoyer and Whip Clyburn and Chairman DeFazio, the entire House leadership team, for the hard work, dedication, and determination to bring people together so we can make a difference in people's lives. I also want to thank every Democrat in the House who worked so hard over the past few weeks to reach an agreement and who supported the process for House consideration of the Jobs and Infrastructure Plan, the Build Back Better effort. There were differences, strong points of view. They're always welcome. What is important is that we came together to advance our agenda. I think everyone who did that, I think everyone who did it was there. Look, I also want to thank everyone who voted to support the John Lewis Voting Rights Act. You know, advancing, it's an act to restore and expand voting protections, to prevent voter suppression, and to secure the most sacred of American rights, the right to vote freely, the right to vote fairly, and the right to have your vote counted. The House has acted. The Senate also has to join them to send this important bill to my desk. And the Senate has to move forward on the People's Act, critical legislation to protect our democracy and the right to vote. We need both of those election bills. But let me now turn to Afghanistan. I've met this morning with my counterparts in the G7, as well as heads of the United Nations, NATO, and the European Union. I express my thanks for the solidarity we have seen as we've stood up an unprecedented global effort. I updated our partners on the significant progress we made in the past 10 days. As of this afternoon, we've helped evacuate 70,700 people just since August the 14th, 75,900 people since the end of July. Just in the past 12 hours, another 19 U.S. military flights, 18 C-17s and 1 C-130 carrying approximately 6,400 evacuees, and 31 coalition flights carrying 5,600 people have left Kabul just in the last 12 hours. A total of 50 more flights, 12,000 more people since I updated you this morning. These numbers are a testament to the efforts of our brave service women and men, to our diplomats on the ground in Kabul, and to our allies still standing with us. And we had a productive discussion. There was strong agreement among the leaders about the evacuation mission underway, as well as the need to coordinate our approach to Afghanistan as we move forward. First, on evacuation, we agreed that we will continue to our close cooperation to get people out as efficiently and safely as possible. We are currently on a pace to finish by August the 31st. The sooner we can finish, the better. Each day of operations brings added risk to our troops. But the completion by August 31st depends upon the Taliban continuing to cooperate and allow access to the airport for those who we're transporting out, and no disruptions to our operations. In addition, I've asked the Pentagon and the State Department for contingency plans to adjust the timetable should that become necessary. I'm determined to ensure that we complete our mission, this mission. I'm also mindful of the increasing risks that I've been briefed on, and the need to factor those risks in. They're real and significant challenges that we also have to take into consideration. The longer we stay, starting with the acute and growing risk of an attack by a terrorist group known as ISIS-K, an ISIS affiliate in Afghanistan, which is the sworn enemy of the Taliban as well. Every day we're on the ground is another day we know that ISIS-K is seeking to target the airport and attack both U.S. and allied forces and innocent civilians. Additionally, thus far, the Taliban have been taking steps to work with us so we can get our people out. But it's a tenuous situation. We're already had some gunfighting break out. We run a serious risk of it breaking down as time goes on. Second, the G7 leaders and the leaders of the EU, NATO, and the UN all agreed that we will stand united in our approach to the Taliban. We agreed.
Jetzt hören wir Joe Biden, der US-Präsident, tritt jetzt live vor die Presse, sein Statement im Original.
This evening in Kabul, as you all know, terrorists attacked that we've been talking about and worried about, that the intelligence community has assessed, has undertaken an attack by a group known as ISIS-K, took the lives of American service members standing guard at the airport and wounded several others seriously. He had also wounded a number of civilians, and civilians were killed as well. I've been engaged all day in constant contact with the military commanders here in Washington and the Pentagon, as well as in Afghanistan and Doha. And my commanders here in Washington in the field have been on this with great detail, and you've had a chance to speak to some so far. The situation on the ground is still evolving, and I'm constantly being updated. These American service members who gave their lives, it's an overused word, but it's totally appropriate here, were heroes. Heroes who've been engaged in a dangerous, selfless mission to save the lives of others. They're a part of an airlift, an evacuation effort unlike any seen in history, with more than 100,000 American citizens, American partners, Afghans who helped us, and others taken to safety in the last 11 days. Just in the last 12 hours or so, another 7,000 have gotten out. They were part of the bravest, most capable, the most selfless military on the face of the earth. And they're part of simply what I call the backbone of America. They're the spine of America, the best the country has to offer. Jill and I, our hearts ache, like I'm sure all of you do as well, for all those Afghan families who lost loved ones, including small children, or been wounded in this vicious attack. And we're outraged as well as heartbroken. Being the father of an Army major who served for a year in Iraq, and before that was in Kosovo as a U.S. attorney for the better part of 6 months in the middle of a war. When he came home after a year in Iraq, was diagnosed, like many, many coming home, with an aggressive and lethal cancer of the brain. We lost. We have some sense, like many of you do, what the families of these brave heroes are feeling today. You get this feeling like you're being sucked into a black hole in the middle of your chest. There's no way out. My heart aches for you. But I know this. We have a continuing obligation, a sacred obligation to all of you, the families of those heroes. That obligation is not temporary, it lasts forever. The lives we lost today were lives given in the service of liberty, the service of security, in the service of others, in the service of America. Like their fellow brothers and sisters in arms who died defending our vision and our values in the struggle against terrorism, of the fallen this day, they're part of a great and noble company of American heroes. To those who carried out this attack, as well as anyone who wishes America harm, know this: we will not forgive. We will not forget. We will hunt you down and make you pay. I will defend our interests and our people with every measure at my command. Over the past few weeks, I know many of you are probably tired of hearing me say it. We've been made aware by our intelligence community that the ISIS-K, an arch enemy of the Taliban, people who were freed when both those prisons were opened, has been planning a complex set of attacks on the United States personnel and others. This is why, from the outset, I've repeatedly said this mission was extraordinarily dangerous, and why I've been so determined to limit the duration of this mission. As General McKenzie said, this is why our mission was designed, this is the way it was designed to operate. Operating under severe stress and attack. We've known that from the beginning. And as I've been in constant contact with our senior military leaders, and I mean constant, round the clock, and our commanders on the ground and throughout the day, they made it clear that we can and we must complete this mission, and we will. And that's what I've ordered them to do. We will not be deterred by terrorists. We will not let them stop our mission. We will continue the evacuation. I've also ordered my commanders to develop operational plans to strike ISIS-K assets, leadership, and facilities. We will respond with force and precision at our time, at the place we choose, in a moment of our choosing. Here's what you need to know. These ISIS terrorists will not win. We will rescue the Americans who are there. We will get our Afghan allies out, and our mission will go on. America will not be intimidated, and I have the utmost confidence in our brave service members who continue to execute this mission with courage and honor to save lives and get Americans, our partners, our Afghan allies out of Afghanistan. Every day when I talk to our commanders, I ask them what they need. What more do they need, if anything, to get the job done? As they will tell you, I granted every request. I reiterated to them today on 3 occasions that they should take the maximum steps necessary to protect our forces on the ground in Kabul. And I also want to thank the Secretary of Defense and the military leadership of the Pentagon and all the commanders in the field. There has been complete unanimity from every commander on the objectives of this mission and the best way to achieve those objectives. Those who have served through the ages have drawn inspiration from the book of Isaiah, when the Lord says, "Whom shall I send? Who shall go for us?" The American military has been answering for a long time. "Here I am, Lord, send me. Here I am, send me." Each one of these women and men of our armed forces are the heirs of that tradition of sacrifice, of volunteering to go in harm's way, to risk everything, not for glory, not for profit, but to defend what we love and the people we love. And I ask that you join me now in a moment of silence for all those in uniform and out of uniform, military and civilian, who have given the last full measure of devotion. Thank you. May God bless you all, and may God protect the troops and all those standing watch for America. We have so much to do. It's within our capacity to do it. We just have to remain steadfast. Steadfast. We will complete our mission, and we will continue after our troops have withdrawn to find means by which we can find any American who wishes to get out of Afghanistan. We will find them and we will get them out. Ladies and gentlemen, they gave me a list here. The first person I was instructed to call on was Kelly O'Donnell of NBC.
You have said leaving Afghanistan is in the national interest of the United States. After today's attack, do you believe you will authorize additional forces to respond to that attack inside Afghanistan? And are you prepared to add additional forces to protect those Americans who remain on the ground carrying out the evacuation operation?
I've instructed the military, whatever they need, if they need additional force, I will grant it. But the military, from the chairman of the Joint Chiefs, the commanders in the field, have all contacted me one way or another, usually by letter, saying they subscribe to the mission as designed to get as many people out as we can within the time frame that is allotted. That is the best way they believe to get as many Americans out as possible and others. And with regard to finding, tracking down the ISIS leaders who ordered this, we have some reason to believe we know who they are, not certain, and we will find ways of our choosing without large military operations to get them wherever they are. Trevor, Reuters.
Thank you, Mr. President. There's been some criticism, even from people in your party, about the dependence on the Taliban to secure the perimeter of the airport. Do you feel like there was a mistake made in that regard? No,
I don't. Look, I think General McKenzie handled this question very well. The fact is that we're in a situation, we inherited a situation, particularly since, as we all know, that the Afghan military collapsed 11 days before, in 11 days, that it is in the interest of, as McKenzie said, in the interest of the Taliban, that, in fact, ISIS-K does not metastasize beyond what it is, number one. And number two, it's in their interest that we are able to leave on time, on target. And as a consequence of that, the major things we've asked them, moving back the perimeter, giving more space between the wall, stopping vehicles from coming through, etc., searching people coming through. It is not what you'd call a tightly commanded, regimented operation like the U.S. is, the military is, but they're acting in their interest. And so, by and large, and I've asked this same question to military on the ground, whether or not it's a useful exercise. No one trusts them. We're just counting on their self-interest to continue to generate their activities. And it's in their self-interest that we leave when we said, and that we get as many people out as we can. like I said, even in the midst of everything happened today, over 7,000 people we've gotten out, over 5,000 Americans overall. So it's not a matter of trust, it's a matter of mutual self-interest. And but there is no evidence thus far that I've been given as a consequence by any of our commanders in the field that there has been collusion between the Taliban and ISIS in carrying out what happened today, both in front of the hotel and what is expected to continue for beyond today. Amir, Associated Press.
Thank you, Mr. President. You have spoken again powerfully about your own son and the weight of these decisions. With that in mind, and also what you've said, that the longer we stay, the more likelihood that there would be a major attack. How do you weigh staying even one more day, considering what's happened?
Because I think what America says matters. What we say we're going to do in the context in which we say we're going to do it, that we do it, unless something exceptional changes. There are additional American citizens. There are additional green card holders. There are additional personnel of our allies. There are additional SIV card holders. There are additional Afghans that have helped us. And there are additional groups of individuals that have been contacted us, from women's groups to NGOs and others, who have expressly indicated they want to get out and have gathered in certain circumstances in groups, on buses and other means. That still presents the opportunity for in the next several days between now and the 31st to be able to get them out. And our military, and I believe, to the extent that we can do that knowing the threat, knowing that we may very well have another attack, the military has concluded that's what we should do. I think they're right. I think they're correct. And after that, we're going to be in a circumstance where there will be, I believe, numerous opportunities to continue to provide access for additional persons to get out of Afghanistan, either through means that we provide and or are provided through in cooperation with the Taliban. They're not good guys, the Taliban. We're not suggesting that at all. But they have keen interest. As many of you have been reporting, they very much would like to figure out how to keep the airport open. They don't have the capacity to do it. They very much are trying to figure out whether or not they can maintain what is the portion of an economy that has become not robust, but fundamentally different than it had been. And so there's a lot of reasons why they have reached out, not just to us, but to others, as to why it would be continued in their interest to get more of the personnel we want to get out. We can locate them. Now, there's not many left that we can assess that want to come out. There's some Americans we've identified, we've contacted the vast majority of them, not all of them, who don't want to leave because they're dual nationals, they have extended families, et cetera. And there's others who are looking for the time. So that's why we continue. I'll take a few.
Soweit Joe Biden, US-Präsident, auf die letzte Frage, wie er es verantworten kann, noch einen Tag länger in Afghanistan zu bleiben, nachdem heute 12 US-Soldaten ihr Leben in Afghanistan, in Kabul gelassen haben, bei 2 Selbstmordattentaten, die rund um den Flughafen stattgefunden haben. 15 US-Soldaten sind verletzt worden und ansonsten gibt es noch 60 tote Afghanen mindestens zu beklagen. Mehr als 100 Verletzte, soweit die blutige Bilanz dieses Tages und das Statement des US-Präsidenten, was wir Ihnen noch mal zusammenfassen können. Also er sagt, er hat deshalb vor, die Mission auch wirklich zu Ende zu bringen, weil er darin größere Chancen sieht, noch mehr Menschen retten zu können. Er möchte diese letzten verbleibenden Tage noch nutzen, um möglichst viele Menschen außer Landes bringen zu lassen. Er hat von vornherein gesagt, dass es eine sehr gefährliche Mission werden könnte. Er hat von vornherein gesagt, er möchte sie auch nicht ausdehnen zeitlich. Und er sagt, genau das ist jetzt passiert und trotzdem nutzen wir jetzt jede einzelne Sekunde, weil danach die Situation wahrscheinlich noch schwieriger wird, um Leute in Zusammenarbeit mit den Taliban eventuell noch mit zivilen Flugzeugen außer Landes zu bringen. Er hat auch erklärt, warum er mit den Taliban zusammenarbeitet und zum Beispiel nicht glaubt, dass dort extra Sprengstoffattentäter bis zu den Toren des Flughafens vorgelassen wurden, weil er sagt, es ist nicht in ihrem eigenen Interesse. Es sind Erzfeinde von diesem Ableger des sogenannten Islamischen Staats und in ihrem eigenen Interesse ist es, anerkannt zu werden von der Welt als neue Machthaber in Kabul. Und deshalb sagt Joe Biden, wir vertrauen ihnen nicht, aber es ist eine Sache von Eigeninteresse, dass sie dort genau das machen, was wir mit ihnen verabredet haben. Und er sieht keine Zeichen, dass sie diese Verabredung gebrochen haben. Er sagt auch, die Soldaten, die dort ihr Leben gelassen haben und verletzt worden sind, alle, die dort eingesetzt werden in dieser, wie er es nennt, größten Hilfsaktion der Geschichte der Menschheit, die sind alle freiwillig gekommen. Jeder Einzelne hat sich angeblich freiwillig gemeldet, um dort für die Werte der Vereinigten Staaten einzustehen und zu kämpfen, so Joe Biden. Er sagt, Freiheit für andere, es sind Helden, sagt er, die Helden, die gestorben sind für Freiheit und die Werte der Vereinigten Staaten und eben auch für das Leben anderer. Hunderttausende Menschen sind in den vergangenen Tagen im Laufe dieser Rettungsaktion aus Afghanistan herausgebracht worden und er ehrt eben diese, wie er sie nennt, selbstlosen Helden, die das möglich gemacht haben. Aber er hat auch eine klare Ansage an die Kämpfer des sogenannten Islamischen Staats gemacht. Er sagt, wir glauben, wir wissen, wo wir euch zu finden haben und wir werden alles tun, um euch dafür bezahlen zu lassen. Die Vereinigten Staaten vergessen nicht. Und sie würden das Ganze auch rächen. Und ganz wichtige Zeichen auch an die Alliierten. Die Rettungsaktion soll weiterlaufen. Also keine Unterbrechung. Die USA möchten die letzten verbliebenen Tage nutzen, um weitere Menschen noch aus Afghanistan zu bringen. Und ein sehr emotionaler Punkt in der Rede des US-Präsidenten, als er von seiner eigenen Familiengeschichte erzählt. Er hat ja selbst einen Sohn verloren, der im Irakkrieg war und dann nachher an Krebs gestorben ist, ein Jahr nachdem er aus dem Einsatz wiederkam. Und er hat den Familien gesagt, ich weiß, wie sich das anfühlt und ich weiß, wie schwer dieser Verlust ist. Und dann hat er aufgerufen zu einer Schweigeminute. Soweit die Äußerungen des US-Präsidenten Joe Biden zu dieser späten Stunde an diesem schlimmen Tag. Wir wünschen Ihnen trotzdem eine gute Nacht. Danke für Ihr Interesse.
Tagesschau 24